Okay. Let me see. Yeah, that was my dumbass. That was so my dumbass, you guys. Um, yeah, that was my dumbass. Yeah. Uh, I have a reputation for being a bit cocky and arrogant, whatever. But let me tell you something. I will totally eat crow when it's when it's my fucking fault. Just real quick here. Let me do this. Let me drop the link for Rael to come back in. That was my dumbass. Don't worry, we didn't get flagged or anything like that. That was literally my idiot self. Fuck. Oh god, I'm such a dumbass. Hold on. We're live. Yeah. Yep. That was this guy right here. No, basically, I had to go run a quick errand, dude. I had to go run to the store real quick, right? Because I'm gonna be getting dinner together here. So I was letting them rock, and I guess there were some feedback issues, and I was listening in on my phone. So I was on the dashboard on my phone, and I saw Mike drop and come back in, and I hit add stream or so add to stream. So I thought, right? So I thought I hit add to stream, but apparently I hit end stream, and I was like, no! It just doop. It just died. Damn. 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 Okay. Rollins just text me. Okay, he's gonna pull back up. Yeah, I'm an idiot, you guys. That was me. Shit. Oh my god. I'm not good at everything, man. I don't give a shit what people think of me, man. Like, that guy just swears he's good at everything. He just knows it all. Dude, I'll tell you right now, I suck at streaming, dude. Really. That's just I'm not built for it, man. But, uh this this uh this conversation had to happen. So, if I got to struggle stream my way through it or alpha struggle stream my way through it, then so be it. Um and that just happened. There he is. Hey, bro, I'm a dumbass, dude. That was me. My bad.
Oh, it's all good, man.
Yeah, I'm an
Shit
idiot.
happens. Shit happens, man.
Yeah, shit happens. Yeah. When it comes to streaming, shit happens all the time with me. Hmm. So, man, dude, there was some feedback going on. I know Mike said he'll try to pull up as I talked to him. What what point were you on, man, when the feedback started? And I'm not even sure why it happened because it was cool when I left.
Yeah, I know where I'm at. 'Cause I almost finished with this one particular parts of this one book I was reading from. To continue, basically the point that I had finished off with was the notion that Booker T. Washington was not political, which was far from the truth. His method and his strategies to deal with things on a political level was just not typical, or the way that Black people, from a collective standpoint, or many Black people, felt he should have engaged. And it's the same. It's in the same way now. Like, for some reason, Black people have this notion that jumping up in people's faces and with picket signs and cussing people out is how you gonna get things done politically. Like, that's that ain't gonna get you anything.
No, it's not, man. It just
You
makes you more
know,
troublesome, right? And unless you literally came through with like an organized set of demands, right? That includes like transactions and shit.
right? I mean, they did all of this. You know, BLM hit all these cities past couple of years. Soon as the administration changed, Asians got a hate crime bill that Black people ain't never got. So clearly that wasn't effective. at all. And black people still 2 years in are talking about what they should be getting or why they haven't gotten anything. So clearly that's not a good strategy. Um, to continue in this line of thinking, the author goes on to say, apparently guideline number 3 of the NNBL's pamphlet hints and helps for local Negro business leagues, because what they would do, they would issue out these pamphlets through the organization that worked in, to try to give people a snapshot of what, what direction that they felt that black people needed to go in terms of business. This was instrumental in fostering an interest in civic affairs such as sanitation, clean yards, cultivating pride, and making attractive in appearance the home districts of African Americans. So the notion of black people having raggedy looking neighborhoods is not even something that Booker T, even during Booker T. Washington's time, was something that he was interested in. They wanted black people to take pride in their neighborhoods.
Well, not dude. There's the thing about that, right? Like just literally having like a clean neighborhood attributes to approximately 15% of the home's value, of that community's home value, right? Largely has to do with manicured lawns, keeping places clean, stuff like that. That increases intrinsic value just by doing things like keeping your shit manicured and the streets clean
Yeah.
and devoid of crime and shit.
And also, too, the psychology of stepping outside of your neighborhood, out of your home, and seeing a clean neighborhood has a positive effect on your psychology too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Very psychological. As opposed to seeing
flowers,
burnt down,
dude.
flowers,
Flowers,
burnt down
plants.
buildings and crack houses and stuff like that.
Yeah, instead of seeing that shit, you're seeing flowers and plants, right? Real well manicured lawns and stuff like that. Dude, there's a certain okay, first of all, let's look at let's dig into the psychology of that real quick, right? Because that gets into what it is that I like to do, gardening, right? So that's you literally taking pride in what you're doing, and that's a practice in and of itself. It's an undisturbed practice. It takes time to grow shit, manicure your lawn, get it looking well and right. It's a peaceful practice too. So collectively, if everybody's doing that, then that means that there's a relative peaceful element to that community, because time is being taken in to grooming the shrubbery and the bush and the lawns and stuff like that around, right? I noticed that, dude, over in Roseland section of Chicago, where my wife grew up, dude, like the lawns were immaculate over there. You go a few blocks down the road, though, it's like you're in a shanty town almost. It's just like, you know what I mean? And then it's just also like when you're in places where the lawns are manicured and stuff like that, you just feel more calmer walking around. Versus where you see shit is like roughshod, you're just like, right? So there very much is a psychology to these things.
Yep. It says, fostering an interest in civic affairs such as sanitation, clean yards, cultivating pride, and making attractive in appearance the home district of African Americans, and in other ways showing an interest in everything that makes for a better community life. The meaning of these statements is ambiguous, especially considering that the NNBL was officially a non-political organization. If Washington had any input, did this relate to politics or just the aesthetics of local communities? Probably both. Although we do not have a conclusive answer, the local leagues probably responded to the pressing needs of their communities, regardless of any non-political mandates from Washington, helping their communities in any way that they could. Fifth, this is probably one of the most important aspects that I myself was very pleased to actually see. It states that at a time when domestic values served as a leadership force in the lives of American women. So in the domestic sphere, in the home sphere, women were considered leaders. I want people to understand what that's really saying.
Yeah.
Not
There's
being
two spheres of leadership. There's two spheres
not
of
being
leadership.
thoughts in the street, but at home. especially those of the middle class, the NNBL during Washington's leadership was always encouraging female entrepreneurs. They joined the NNBL and often formed separate women's business leagues that worked in conjunction with the national body. When Washington called for the assembly of the NNBL in 1900, he wanted positive responses from women as well. He recognized that their advancement was a critical component needed for the progress of his race.
Hmm.
In traveling throughout the country, he also saw women engaged in business ventures, performing hard and often unsung labors. Like the men, he wanted them to come to the Boston meeting and all ensuing gatherings and not only share their experiences, but also fraternize with fellow business persons. Women were always an integral part of the NNBL, even though Washington rarely mentioned them in his book, The Negro in Business, as a driving force behind entrepreneurial ventures. Post slavery, especially
Post.
in regards to the National Negro Business League, women in general, just like in Black America, just like in any other group, were heavily invested in the men of their group being successful business wise, because why? That meant an improved standard of living. They had an interest in seeing the men successful, and the men, vice versa, had an interest in seeing women who were in business be successful too. That's why Booker T. Washington promoted Black women being a part of the National Negro Business League. Um, Despite this, however, as mentioned earlier, their advice and suggestions were generally respected. Thus, ever since the first meeting of the NNBL, one or more women were usually placed on the agenda as speakers. So, from the very beginning, Black women were foundational to the National Negro Business League and its success. The criterion for membership was not gender, but whether an individual was engaged in a business venture.
Wow.
The types of businesses that female members of the NNBL were involved in were usually those associated with roles commonly designated for women in the early 20th century, such as restaurant owners, caterers, milliners, dressmakers, manicurists, and hairstylists.
I mean,
There, there,
go ahead, man. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
there
ahead. I'm
were,
sorry.
however, women operating in fields then atypical for their sex, such as doctors, pharmacists, and even a banker. Regardless of their line of work, all moral and honest labor performed by these women was considered noble by the NNBL, which preached Washington's doctrine of finding an economic niche, performing better than anyone else, and expanding. Go ahead, man.
No, it's just it's so weird, man. Because that right there basically shows that this was all inclusive, right?
Mhm.
It was all inclusive because here's the thing, right? There's this, and this really just kind of points to psychology of modern day black folks, right? You've got like the boss chick, whatever, right? Who looks to try to dominate the venue of men, right? They
Mhm.
really do trying to kind of take on this whole sort of masculine thing in terms of their approach to businesses, right? Where when in listening to what you were saying, none of that none of that is necessary, or at that time was necessary. When he
Nope.
talked about when they mentioned the business ventures of the time, right? Caterers, restaurant owners, dressmakers, and stuff like that. They see they are a part of commerce, right? But it didn't require this sort of social positioning, right? That put women in competition with men. You get what I mean?
Mhm.
That based on what you read, that wasn't the nature of how that all was going to work. It wasn't. It was a co-op. It was collective based. It wasn't competition between based. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like what I said on Kev's channel. Um, we act like we've never done this before. And I specifically referenced the National Negro Business League to make that argument. This notion of, I've been hearing for about 20 to 25 years, Black people talk about how Black people need to get together and do Black businesses. As if it, like, the thought just hit their mind and like they just woke up like we've never been a part of this. I got research that shows that there were Black men who started their own businesses even while they were on a plantation.
You know what?
So this notion of Black people and Black men specifically not being business minded is just completely erroneous.
No, it's dude. Okay, look. I think at a certain level, if you have any modicum of intelligence, right, it fundamentally makes sense. That's why everybody will say this is what we need to do, right? It fundamentally, who can make who can make the argument against it, right? Like I said, people go like, well, you got these white-owned institutions and da da da, and it's like, wait, do you really think that they're just quote unquote white-owned like that? Don't you realize all of these companies are made up of like, various components where they acquired other companies, right? They're part of trade organizations and various co-ops to source parts and materials from manufacturing. It's like, dude, the shit is so complex, no pun intended, that it's not that simplistic. So it's like what happens here is that the thought in the head is like, yeah, that's a great idea. We should do this, right? Because who's going to say that we couldn't benefit? We wouldn't benefit from doing something like that. The
Right.
problem is in the actual doing.
Mm-hmm.
We can all agree it's a great idea, right? But what happens when somebody like a Booker T pulls up with a plan to do it?
Right.
That's the problem. That's it.
No.
No code.
I mean,
no code. Right? No code. You got it.
It's amazing to me that with all these scholars that we have had, I find it very interesting. Many of them don't really want to address Booker T. And I think that even when you start talking about what Cosby went through in terms of the what he got, the shunning that he received from Black people, with all the things that he did for Black people, is right in line with the notion that Black people have a real serious problem with giving the proper respect to their business class of Black people. They have this is something that is really hard. Successful Black people in business outside of their celebrities. Because if their celebrities talk about it, if their celebrities talk about life insurance, now it's set in stone. Now it's okay.
Yeah, if the athlete or a celebrity signs off on it, it's gooch, right? It's gooch.
Yeah. But Alonzo Herndon went from being on a plantation to building $1 million life insurance company as a Black man in the South. So and he was able to do that with his business partner. Part of them being able to do that was starting out as barbers first. They had a trade first, and then he was able to move. I think he bought the company. I think he bought the insurance company he got for like $250.
Oh shit,
He turned the company from 250
man!
to $1 million company.
Man, buy an insurance company for $250.
Mm.
No, but I'm just, I I, I don't know, man. I'm just kind of like, all right, dude. When we really dig into the nuts and bolts of this, and we start to see, man, that like over 100 years ago, the plan was laid out, right? The model was put out there. What are we doing right about now, bro?
Say that again.
I said, what are we doing right about now? Like real talk. What are we doing right now? Okay. I mean, something that was laid down 100 years ago. The government uses it. Um, Tons of other business entities and trade organizations and co-op use the principles. What are we doing right now? How come we're not doing this right now in the fourth industrial revolution? Well, I don't want to say how come we're not. I just want to say, why is this not tabled as something that needs to be considered the framework? See, I don't like the conversations about what we need to do, like you were just mentioning, right? Like everybody can agree. It's like we need to work in this mode and this method. Everybody can agree on that, right? In concept. But like I said, when it comes down to practice, okay, that's a whole other conversation. But it's not as if the way to do it has not been laid down. That's the ultimate point. Okay. Look, it's the folks that sit from his time onward that were against, and I'm talking black folks that were against. Okay, that what he laid down. Okay, that was their violation, and we readily recognize it. That's what this whole conversation is about. This black business talk. Okay, it's not as if black men were not about the fucking business. Bullshit.
Mhm.
Bullshit. I dare a motherfucking divester listening in earshot to pull the fuck up with that dumb shit. You're gonna get clipped real quick. Off with your head. Because see, what we uncovered and what we talked about here today was that it was actually our own folks that was part of the fucking problem to begin with. So when the fuck are we gonna get out of our own way? That's the question, Raul. When the fuck are y'all gonna really fall behind some real motherfucking leaders? Let's ask the question.
Um, I don't. It's hard to answer that question. Um, so many directions I can go in.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just saying, bro. Look, if it was good enough for fucking U.S. industry, goddamn.
I think that we have to
I
keep
don't
it in
know. Is
mind.
there
We have
something
to
you
keep
want to
in
say about
mind.
it? Like, let me know.
Like we have to
Okay.
keep in mind too that this blueprint is something that um this blueprint was something that um non-whites, especially, I mean, not black, non-blacks, like whites, have used to build up their wealth. Um, I say this all the time. Black men have never given up on Black America. Post slavery, Black men have made every sacrifice known to mankind to try to advance Black people forward. Black people are the ones who have abandoned Black men. That's the distinction that we all have to take from Booker T. Washington's experience. We have seen males in these spaces being unwilling to come together to sit down as grown men and do business because nobody wants to be a follower, as if being a follower is something bad. A follower is only bad when you're following people who are stupid and dumb. That's when it's bad. When you're following people who are getting things done and doing things right and having positive
What's wrong
results,
with following that?
that's
What's
what you
wrong
want
with
to
them?
follow.
Yeah.
You know,
At one time, I followed people like that. You know what? Matter of fact, what the fuck am I talking about? I still do.
come on.
What am I talking
Much of
about?
what you learn in life is going to come from mentorship, apprenticeship. Your whole notion of life is about following people. You have your core personality, but ultimately, you want to identify the people who know how to do it right. So you don't spend your life trying to make it through trial and error. Who wants to learn life through trial and error all the time? Are there
I mean,
parts of life? Are there
just
parts of
talk to
life
it.
that require that? Yes. In terms of your own internal growth and development, sometimes you need to learn through trial and error.
But trial and error.
Everything shouldn't be through trial and error.
But no. Trial and error, right? That's a general term, right? Trial and error. Okay, the trial part, you have to consider, right? All that was done. See, prior to the error part, right? Because the error can be large or just very minimal, right? Based on your preparation. See, in motorsport, dude, and in racing, there's a maxim I always live by. Perfect preparation prevents poor performance. Okay, if the precursor process, right, is to account for every potential negative outcome, and you basically prepare for it, that means that any outcome that does come your way more than likely will be minimal. Okay, but if you go at it haphazardly, shit can go wrong. A whole multitude of things, and in a bad way, right? You see, so trial and error really largely depends on one's approach. Okay, I like, because look, I don't like to trial and error my way through shit. I like to fucking think my way through shit, right, before I go and make a decision on something, because I want to make sure that motherfucking decision, once I make it, that's it.
That's
You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to trial and error my way through that type of shit. I want to think my way through it, minimize the error, and maximize the motherfucking profit.
Yeah.
It's a stupid way to go about doing shit, bro.
Right. Yeah. You know, this is. I think this is just a fundamental cultural defect for blacks, is the notion, because we see it even in black people as they relate to church. I was reading this book by this white woman, and she was talking about pastors. She was talking about pastors in church, and she said most pastors in church are people who failed in life.
Oh fuck.
She said, and they run to church so they can use something that they know that can give them control over other people. And
Ain't nothing like a good redemption story, right?
right, and so this is the model for people for a lot of people who live their lives like they love a rags to riches story. They love a story about some underdog.
Like just a fucking.
And see, the thing for me is, and see, you shouldn't want to look at blackness in terms of intelligence as an underdog. Like, you don't want to be the type of person that is expected to lose. People look at you and expect you to lose. Like you want to approach situations like you expect to win.
Like you have the advantage.
That's
You
what
want
having
them
an elite
scared, dude.
mindset is. Is
Yeah.
that when you get into the game, you expecting to win. Like you distraught when you lose.
Dude, I go in like on some shit like, dude, I like there's some math I uncovered that you didn't. There's shit I know that you don't.
I'm gonna quote the great Kobe Bryant, man. Rest in peace.
Man, my dude.
Rest in peace to the God. Kobe said, and I think this was like 2006 or 7. Kobe said, I hate to lose more than I love to win.
That's some shit.
Boy, when he said that, bruh, ooh, I said, damn.
Like, nigga, winning is an expectation, bro. But when you lose, nigga, that shit bites.
I was like,
Like
bruh.
supposed to happen, bro. But when I lose, man, I'm toasted, dog. Stay away from me. Give me a minute.
Because he said it. He said it in one of his
Yeah.
interviews. Like, he was like, man, I really don't like people. Because like before I heard him say that, like I've been saying that since I was a kid. Like,
Same
I
here.
really don't like people. So when I heard him say that, I was like, damn, I'm like, that was a kindred spirit right there. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Like, because he has so much of an expectation of himself, you know, that like he just wouldn't accept like laziness and I can and like no.
Well,
He would
fundamentally that's not what's gonna get it done. Like
people
off rip.
yeah, people talked about how he was notorious for like when they would go to different cities, like Kobe didn't go to the clubs, man. Kobe was in a gym training
Yep.
all the time. He was training all the time. And they were just like, I mean, people like, yo, he ate, slept, basketball, being great at his craft. And so, you know, it's like when you in a lane like business, man, like you can't half-ass business, man. This is particularly why Booker T. Washington did not want to, within the confines of the organization, get on the political in the organization because he did not want something so divisive tearing away what the overall goal was,
Stay
which
up
was to
out of
get
that
black
shit.
people to engage in business. If you want, look, go read one of the black newspapers. If you want to see something in politics, or if you want to deal with an organization that's dealing with stuff on a political level, yeah, you can join that. But over here, we doing business over here.
Yeah. Step out of that shit.
Like business within itself is enough. So if you want to come over here, like yo, like leave that at the door, man. You know, because we got to get stuff done.
Right.
And
And we need collective we need collective efforts, man.
right,
That's why all these leagues existed.
right. So and it's like for me, man, it's like you know, reading this information about his experience um, with other black people, like what he had to go through, it's like it's eerily similar to a lot of stuff that we've experienced in these spaces, man. Because now we get to see, like, okay, why we've gotten so much pushback. It's literally, and I hate to have to say this because this is very sad to say.
Say it,
It
man.
has been literally programmed in the cultural competency of Black America to be anti-business. It's literally a part of the psyche, of the consciousness of Black people, specifically as it relates to Black businesses. There is something inherent built, programmed into Black people to be anti-Black business, and this is from way back. This is from way back. It like we didn't do it like in this generation. It don't come from us. but it has literally been something that has been coded into the DNA of black people. And until black people splice out that negative gene inside them, it's gonna continue. This is
Let me,
why black people, this is why your families don't work together and pull their resources together like Korean families do.
and like the Latino families out here,
Like,
bro.
like Latino families do. Ethiopians do.
And
You know what I'm saying?
you know, also I was telling you about all the Sikh and Punjabi folks that live in my neighborhood. I told you it's about probably like 35, almost 40% Sikh and Punjabi around here, right? They do the same shit with their trucking operations, dude. They collectivize. Remember I was saying how they break down how they have like 3 drivers living in one house. They all have a room, and then within like 3 or 4 months, one of them done built up enough bread to go and buy a house in the neighborhood, right? And then the next cat comes in and then he fills that spot, and then the next dude's up, and then like in a month or two, they done snatched up a house for this dude. It's like they got a way to do shit, man. They move, they operate a certain way, bro. It's it's all about process. I'm not even sure how to say this cat's name right here. I'm just gonna say GIF, GIF, GIF. Keep doing streams like this. I appreciate this one, man. All day, every day, bro. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. We have Alika Spain in the house. What's going on, broski? Don McKee, what's going on, man? Welcome. Yeah, man. You know what? I fucked up on the. This is a continuation of the last one, man. I fucked up when I had to go run a quick errand. I hit the wrong button and nuked the stream. But we wanted to we really did want to cover this one, man. Um, just in light of what the last 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm gonna do this. And then look. Well, hey, dude, do you want to do the psyche joint tonight, man?
Nah, not tonight.
Not tonight. Okay, no. I just want to check in. I just want to check in, bro. Because if not, I'm just I don't know. I might do another stream or I might just work on shit. But here's what I want to do, bro. Before we close out on this one, right? I want to just kind of go over just a couple things. I showed the graphic earlier. Hold on 1 second. Let me just show y'all again.
But before you do that, I want to finish
Go,
this.
go. Oh, you know what? Hey, man, my bad, dude. Go ahead, man. Finish up, and then I'm gonna touch on this. Go ahead.
This is going to be very important for a lot of people. Even myself, I was actually surprised to hear this. It said perhaps the most famous female member of the NNBL was Sarah Breed Love Walker, better known by her commercial name, Madam CJ Walker,
Oh shit.
who ultimately became a millionaire by developing a hair care products business, which successfully sold merchandise throughout the United States and abroad. I want to say this. From the Chamber of Commerce aspect to the hair care products aspect, we had a hole in both of those endeavors. And Black people have allowed foreigners, basically, to come and take over that market to the point where when you're looking for beauty products, you patronize non-Black businesses. The woman who created Carol's daughter, you know why she had to file bankruptcy and ended up selling her company to L'Oreal was because Black women didn't support the business. But I thought every time I turn around, Black women would say, we need, people don't make any products for us. They wouldn't even support the system. Complaining about paying $6 a bottle, $7 a bottle, when you will have white women pay $30 a bottle for a bottle of Paul Mitchell shampoo.
Hmm.
And y'all talking about $6 and $7. But we'll spend $300, $400, $500, $600, $700 on bundles.
Oh shit.
But a Black woman, remove the Black men out of this equation. A Black woman can sell you a hair care product that she created in her kitchen, mixing things together, trying to help Black women address an issue that is very sensitive for them, their hair. so they could feel beautiful. And she did not get the support of her sisters. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we have females out here that will love to support female-centered channels that's all about divesting from black men, when historically it was black men who were instrumental in terms of women like C.J. Walker. Because when you hear
She had to get her bread up somehow.
when you hear Madam C.J. Walker, you don't hear anything about the National Negro Business League and the black man who started that and spearheaded that endeavor, who helped her become successful.
Hey, look, the motherfucking hot combs. What I tell you on the phone? Them hot combs had to get made and distributed somehow.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell do you how do you become a millionaire off of hot combs, fam?
Come on, man.
Come on. All right.
I'm gonna finish up with this because it's good.
Go ahead.
It says,
hey, real quick. By the way, do you guys see the graphic up there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
It said men made up the majority of the membership, the majority of the delegates attending the annual meetings, and the lion's share of those presenting papers or addresses. This was the National Negro Business League. Men were also predominant in the leadership roles. This pattern was a product of the times and was in line with the standards of the Victorian era that many blacks and whites, especially elites, followed. Nevertheless, the recorded testimonies of male league members reveal that successful male entrepreneurs generally pay homage to their wives for not only being partners in their undertakings, but also for being crucial to their very success. At the end of an address, when a male delegate would be asked who contributed toward his success, it was not unusual for him to say that it was his wife. Some even said that if it had not been for their wives, they would have failed or given up. John Wanamaker, a successful white store owner, was asked by Washington to address the NNBL after seeing female delegates at the 1905 New York NNBL gathering. He complimented the black male delegates for incorporating women into their organization as well as their business lives.
Once again, where's the division or the separation at?
Black men oppressing who? Black men are oppressing the black men.
Where's that at? Where's that at? Where? Huh. Okay.
Sorry, black folks, you've been had.
Joke's on y'all.
You've been had and you've been played. You've been
hoodwinked. Bamboozled.
You've been bamboozled.
Hoodwinked. Run amok.
You have had the very people who have stifled your business development politically through rules and laws like black codes introduced after slavery was over with when they pulled the federal troops out the South during Reconstruction. The very people who fought your men for 100 years to stop them from being able to vote politically were trying to keep those men from building economic infrastructures. And when they did build those economic infrastructures, like in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and things like that, they spitefully burned them to the ground and killed people because they were jealous of what black men were doing. Only to turn around that when they got the power politically, bring your woman right back to the plantation, which is what they have been wanting to do, because post-slavery, one of the things that many of the landowners still wanted to happen was they wanted black women to be forced to come back to the plantation and still work the land. And they even petitioned the Freedmen's Bureau to try to force black women to come back to the plantation. Many black women denied that. They did not want to do that. They felt that their purpose and the importance for them was to be in the home with their family and children. And many of them only worked if it was absolutely necessary for the family's interest, not because they were trying to be some single independent woman, was because they were trying to help out financially. Otherwise, they would not go back to the plantation because Black people valued marriage, because marriage was one of the most fundamental rights you have, inalienable rights that you have, that was denied to them, which meant they could not produce fully functioning families.
Well, I was
So
gonna say,
they were
most.
not going to do that.
Well, dude, like I swear to God, bro. Like, if when I read, from the historical narrative, dude, like, okay, um, Black Wall Street was not littered with baby mamas and hoods.
No.
That's not how they reach success, right? Rosewood. That's not how success. That's not how success was achieved. I'm just so fucking sorry. You just don't see it. I don't know why today, why it is that Black folks continue to literally do the opposite. I don't know if that's another conversation. I'm just saying, it's like, see, the truth in the historical narrative is in everything that we've uncovered in this live stream, and the one we just we started an hour ago before I fucked up, right? Okay,
Mhm.
but when you combine them, and we're covering the historical narrative, right? Of what how Black business, how Black business infrastructure. See, this is what we're talking about, y'all. This is what we're talking about. I get tired. Rael gets tired of hearing right? Theories and opinions about how things work, right? Right? Postulations. Man, fuck that. The blueprint was laid down over 100 years
Do
ago.
not listen to
The
any
fuck are we doing?
Black scholars who are brought into these spaces who are not having conversations and bringing onto
Fuck,
their
man.
platforms any Black men that's based on business. If they're not, if all they're talking about is freaking problems, you can't trust them. Do not trust them.
You can't trust them.
I mean that. And I would dare any one of them to challenge me on that.
No, you know what? They ain't gonna pull up. They
Because
ain't gonna. Stop. Stop.
they did not
Stop.
have more problems than a Black man and woman and child had coming out of slavery. And they got things done.
They ain't gonna pull up, bro. Stop.
They got things
You already.
done.
You already know that's going. Yeah. You already know that's not gonna happen. They ain't gonna pull up. Stop.
Now
Stop.
I want to finish with this because I think this is important just to kind of sum
Yeah.
up.
We'll go ahead and cut it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Some scholars have stressed, and this is why you need to be careful of the scholars that you listen to.
Oh shit. Let's go.
Many of these people know the history. They just sold out. They want a paycheck. They don't want to build generational wealth. They want a paycheck. And many of them sound all revolutionary and all that shit, and it sounds good to a young ear. But at the end of the day, a white man cashing that paycheck for them. Okay? Says some scholars have stressed that the growth of African American businesses was meager in comparison to that in white owned and operated businesses during the same period. We still do this to this day. We're constantly comparing
Yep.
ourselves against white people. Stop doing it.
Yep. Stop.
It's self-defeating. Stop. Well, white people have such. Stop.
So.
They further point out that African American businesses were without exception, small and insignificant to the greater American economy, which was true because they were in their infancy stages. These scholars are correct in their assessments. However, the entrepreneurial growth reflected above is an accomplishment, especially considering the depths from which many of these business operators arose. Many of them, like Washington, had been enslaved and arose against difficult odds that often served as structural barriers to success. If y'all want to talk about some structural racism, the effects of the nadir were pervasive and rapidly worsening. Furthermore, most of them arose in the absence of a business tradition, which was limited, if not completely suppressed by slavery, and thus they operated generally on a trial and error, hit and miss basis, which was why Booker T. Washington started the NNBL. He didn't want black people going out there, pulling all their hard-earned resources, risking it on some trial and error type stuff. He pulled,
no protection, no guidance, no nothing.
He pulled black people's business acumen from different parts of the country to leverage their skill set to minimize risk.
There we go.
Which is smart business. Washington, who was an evolutionist, made it his policy not to compare the economic growth of white businesses in general with those of African Americans. He reasoned that African American businesses had to be judged on their own merit and that business success, no matter how infinitesimal, was success and should be judged as such.
Success is success, dude. The money speaks for itself. I don't give a fuck.
He envisioned that in time, the African American entrepreneur, through no artificial forcing, but simply with hard, persistent work, would be on par with white American businessmen contributing to the well-being of the American economy. Booker T. Washington had faith in black people, y'all.
Come on, man. Come on.
He had faith in black people.
He had faith, man. He thought we can get out here and do this shit just like every other group that gets out here and does it.
He just knew that it was going to take some time. That's all. And if you look at the track record, seeing all the enclaves of black wealth that was built before we got burned down, it was right. Because when black people was left alone, they built shit. You can't burn something down that ain't built. It was Washington's dream and aim to ensure that African Americans were a vital part of the American economy and ultimately of society in general, which in his mind would bring about true freedom and real American citizenship as prescribed by the United States Constitution. Washington espoused his economic ideas of self-help and making oneself indispensable to one's community, both publicly and privately, with the NNBL serving as a major national forum for the advocacy of these ideas. When analyzing Washington on a micro level as executive of Tuskegee Institute, it becomes clear that he exhibited the same consistent behavior, espousing and implementing his business ideas to obtain real freedom and empowerment for his race.
All right, look, we got Mike V back. I got to take a call, man. My business partner just called me. I'm going to mute. Hey, Mike, go ahead, man. Y'all go ahead and chop it up, man. I'll be right back.
Peace, Mike.
Hey, Peace, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just catching up again. Last time we had some technical difficulties, so I just want to not interrupt if you're in the middle of something. So
No, go ahead. I was finished with that part. Go ahead, man.
Okay, I'm not sure where you left off.
Oh no, I was talking about basically Booker T's philosophy in terms of black businesses and what he his view in terms of how he felt over time black businesses will be on par with white businesses in terms of them. The more black people engaged in business, the more they learn business, the more they share their information with those around them, the more they pass it down, the more over time black people will become competent in business on a level where they could compete with whites in business. So basically he had faith in black people to get it done, which is why he formed the NNBL to help facilitate that work getting done on that particular level. So this idea that he was He accepted the racism of the time just because his strategy from a public perspective was not antagonistic to people. But when you look at him behind the scenes, you see he was very adept at funding certain things that he wanted to see happen from a political standpoint, so Black people could be, Black people could advance in the way that he saw Black people needing to be able to advance during that time. So my contention is that the anti approach to what Black people were facing at that time, I would surmise that this is the reason why people like us specifically, and I think, when you were on our panel, I think some of that frustration came out, when you sent them drone strikes, was because this is something that people like us have been talking about in this space for a long time, only to see people seem like they're making a mockery of the idea of Black men coming together to get things done. Because if we just move the women to the side for a minute, we just focus on the men, there's no excuse for men not getting business done. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to accept it. I'm not. I know I'm not going to accept it. I know you're not going to accept it. Complex is not going to accept it. No men over here that's affiliated with this channel, MOT, Dr. Phoenix, anybody that's affiliated are going to accept that. We're not going to accept any excuses, because we could see men like him who were in rougher times, they didn't even accept any excuses. And they actually set up some things which quite surprisingly was very effective, to the point that white people use it as a blueprint to set up the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So we're not going to accept or tolerate any excuse making from these dudes. And from a scholar perspective, if we have scholars in these spaces that are not going to actually engage in the Black business side of these spaces, they don't even need to come in these spaces and talk, man, because it's pointless.
So two things. I think when you're referring to with Booker T, they had to do something because that was the only way to eat. In today's economy, a lot of guys can kind of just be wayward within the system, and
right,
somebody else can subsidize their way of living for what it is.
right.
And so I think that the difference between the times, and so you may not see the hunger and the tenacity from these guys today, because they don't have to live like Booker T did. And so that has caused a lot of, I'm sorry.
Complex, I think I need to mute up.
Yeah, I think there's some feedback coming from Complex.
Yeah, because I can hear you. Let me tell you.
Some of them other niggas that you might see on TV or hear on the radio and such. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is me. I'm speaking for my fucking self. When you see me at the show on stage,
I'm texting him now so he can
you know what I'm saying?
mute up.
It ain't like I'm trying to be a tough guy or trying to make people think I'm crazy by saying all this shit. What it is that I know how niggas gets down, right?
Let me make sure it's not. Go ahead and speak.
You hear me?
Things like that.
Yeah, I'm still hearing the feedback.
Niggas ain't never seen no parts of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Dig where I'm coming from? I know a lot of y'all niggas, matter of fact, all y'all niggas right now listen to this shit. Like, we gonna see these niggas, we gonna see what they about. You know what I'm saying? Touch these niggas, see the level their heads at. I'll let y'all niggas know right now, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got your time or your money or your hospital bills. If you stress me on a personal level, I don't back down easy, you know what I'm saying? There's a good chance your ass either gonna get shot, stabbed, another jam, one out of the three. So again, with your life, dude, word up and believe me. I know very well I can get shot, stabbed, and fucked up too, whatever. I ain't super nigga, I'm a little skinny motherfucker. It's all about who gets who first, though, you know what I'm saying? So therefore, and oh yeah, told them rap ass niggas with your half ass rhymes, talk about how much you get.
Let me test again.
Yeah, I'm talking to him now.
Yeah, I'm still hearing the feedback.
Mike, go ahead.
All right, cool. Yeah, so that's number one. But for number two, what happened on that other live stream panel? My frustration in a nutshell is the deflection from what needs to be done. Right? It's everything else other than what needs to be done.
Right.
And it's not so much about it's not so much about everybody has to know everything. It's more about where's the energy for what needs to be done,
Right.
right? And so, because you have to have a conversation first before you can actually take some action, before something can become actionable, right?
Right.
And that's kind of what we do on here, right? We kind of have a more high level discussion before we can go into the deep dive as to whether or not this is actionable. What frustrates me is to hear grown men having that conversation and not wanting to be actionable at all or be intentional, right? And so we're in a time right now where it's a good time to be a Black man trying to go into business, because a lot of guys are getting funding that they've never seen before, right? I was watching Roland Martin the other day, and a Black man who did some time in prison came out of jail and created this digital postcard for inmates. Basically, if you're an outsider, you're a visitor or something like that, you want to send somebody a postcard inside jail. It's this really dope, Hallmark postcard system that he developed. It's basically like an Instagram on a postcard.
Oh wow!
And it's really dope, man. And it's a Black man that did it, but you don't really hear about these sort of innovations in this space, because you have a lot of guys who don't want to have that conversation because a variety of things. Maybe it might be that they're not the center of it, right? If they're not the center of the discussion, then they don't see any value in having the discussion. And so you have a lot of ego that gets involved in, Black business development and things like that, and Black business talk and stuff like that. And so that's kind of where my frustration is. Like, it's 2022. We shouldn't be having conversations from 2016 to 2017 anymore.
Thank you.
It's time to start having conversations that's going to lead us to things that's going to be more actionable and more impactful. And you don't really hear that in the space in this point in time. We're still having conversations about women coming to a table, and I'm saying in 2022 that shouldn't be a conversation, because in 2020 it was predicted that the BW would come to the table because of COVID. Right. And now that COVID is over, the restrictions have been lifted. That never came to fruition. So that's kind of what the frustration that I had was with those individuals on that panel. I couldn't take any more of it. It really made my blood boil. And so I'm seeing everybody right now. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see I post things on a daily basis of people making moves that look like us, right? In the United States and outside the United States, especially on the continent of Africa, people are making some really big moves.
Hey man, you put me on, man. Like my mindset toward the continent was I wanted to do business over there, but I just didn't understand it from your vantage point, because obviously you went over there and you made contacts. Mm-hmm. Like the feeling that Africans have towards us now is not the same as it was 25 years ago. Like, they're much more amenable to working with us than they ever had been. So, and then when you look at the history, as I'm, looking at some of the stuff on Booker T. Washington, like, obviously I know about Liberia, but I didn't know about some of the things he was engaged in Togo. So you're talking about somebody who literally exemplified the very things that we're talking about. Like, we're not late to the party. This is our tradition. We have somebody that's here that has already done this before. It's just the fact that Black people left that blueprint. They left that blueprint behind because they were more focused on white acceptance than actually building Black assets, institutions over time. And if they would have just given those institutions time, we will be having a different conversation. And so I just think that, like I said before, like there's no excuse in these spaces when many of the male conversations are centered around the idea that you're trying to help Black men. Okay, once Black men understand what kind of environment that they're operating in socially, okay, cool. They know what the environment is. If the females is on some silly stuff, fine. Okay, now work has to get done because now you're talking about a whole continent that's opened up, and you've been over there. You know what I'm saying? You know what they looking like over there. So it's not like it's a shortage of melanated sisters that that's where you want to go with. Ain't no shortage over there. But again, they're hungry too. And so and when I'm having conversations with these sisters on the continent, like they're talking, I mean, they're always talking about something. They're doing something business wise, or they're talking about how they want to do something business wise, and just the opportunities are not there because they're not lazy at all. They want to. They're looking for. They putting you on trying to tell you like, look, if you want to come over here, bring a business over here, like you will make a lot of money. So they open up the door for you, And so in this context, it's like it's a complete opposite. It's like how can they even open a door for you if you're not even engaged in business? Your mindset is not even of that mentality. It don't make any sense, especially when you're the type of dude that's expecting women to just submit to you just because you male. No, there needs to be a plan, a core, something to submit to. What is she submitting to? Just your maleness? No, you got to bring something more to the table than that.
Well, it's not so much about so much about the women, but they have.
No, I know that.
Let me just finish. They have the logical infrastructure in place on the continent. Like they have people who are in government, ministers of ICT, information communication and technology, all sorts of startups are over there, incubators, accelerators are over there. When you come back to the United States, you don't really see a lot of that in Black communities, and so we lack what they fundamentally have over there, which is the mindset, like you're pointing to actually get something done now. And so when you come into this space, I think a lot of the labor that's in here is not viable for a fourth industrial society, and so they stray away from the conversation because they don't really want to be exposed that they can't actually compete in the fourth industrial society. And so that's kind of what I see happening, especially after coming over, being over there for a few weeks and back to back, in Rwanda, in South Africa, in Doha, and actually in Istanbul as well. And so talking to people over there and seeing how hospitable it was over there. I met a couple of brothers from the United States who are actually in Turkey, and they were talking about how hospitable the Turks were to them because they were trying to do business over there. And so I think we have to be more globalized in how we approach these things, because we can't just be like, oh, well, it's either cut the check or nothing. It's like, that doesn't work anymore in 2022. Everybody's going for the bag big time. And in this space, you'll never know that a bag even exists because the conversation doesn't center around it. It centers around, getting somebody to a table, where I don't think that's very, I don't think that should be the focus at all, me personally speaking. But I do think that the skills and abilities to compete in the fourth industrial society is going to be really important. Even the base level mechanical skills, such as carpentry, master electrician, master plumber and gas fitters. These things are going to be viable going forward, because it's not just in Africa, but if you go to like Thailand or any of these sort of Southeast Asian countries, look at the telephone poles or the utility poles.
Yeah, developing countries, period. Yeah.
It looks like a bundle of yarn.
Wow.
Put together, because it's all shade tree sort of junctured utility cables piped into a pole, you can die walking over those poles. Yeah, you can die from some kind of electrical shock because it's kind of jury rigged together. But as we move into renewable energies and things of that nature, you're going to need people who can actually understand the ability of low voltage versus high voltage electricity and communication. That's going to be really key. You can run internet over a power cable. Okay, you can run it. It's actually doable. So if you want to wire up the continent, in terms of some of these small villages, some of these small cities, you can do it if you have the means to understand, electrical engineering, electronic engineering, and electrical technologies and things of that nature, computer engineering. You can do things like that if you have a fundamental base level understanding of what needs to be done. But if your conversation centers around having somebody at the table, I can guarantee you that dog is not going to hunt. What's going on, engineering cannabis?
Hey, Mike, I agree with you because I even this week I attended a fintech summit, African fintech summit in DC, and it was packed. They were talking of ideas in different fintech spaces, and it was. I mean, there's so much money down in the continent, and they're bringing ideas. Because I was even talking to someone about an idea in a fintech about using the same credit system we have here, but using it in the continent, but twisting it up, the algorithms and everything. It, I mean, they're expanding the ideas in fintech, in agriculture, in solar energy, in every aspect. And also here too, the businesses here too. A lot of government contracts in here with solar energy, with renewable energy, construction. So there's a lot of opportunities, and we are not talking about it. It's not in our radar. It's it's far from it. It's again, we have opportunities not only here, again, globally, in every space, in technology, again, in solar energy, in renewable energy, in anything you want to talk about, blockchain, IoT. In the continent, we're doing that. They're even training. We have educational hubs right now that train students in data science, in IoT, and all that. So this is where we're going. But again, we're not seeing it being talked about in this space.
No.
There's more. We're more focused on again the entertainment part. But again, even before, I always thought that with more communication brings with more knowledge, more communications, we can see an advancement in businesses. But it's not happening. We've seen advancement in the way we communicate. Again, the internet, email, all that. But we're not seeing that communicate that information, that pertinent information, that important information that needs to be broadcasted. It's not being done, and we are falling behind. And what's more, advertisers again, the entertainment part. But what needs to be advertised right now is the opportunities. Again, we can own our businesses. Even in here, construction, you can own a business in construction and make enough money, and take that same construction business and go globally and make more money. But we're not seeing that big picture, and
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, that's Mike. When we were on Art's panel, I mean, I specifically asked you, because that's one of the things I'm interested in eventually doing, is especially getting my hands on a real estate development company with the infrastructure already in place. I would love to be able to go to the continent and get some of those contracts. We have Black men in the United States that have construction companies. Like, we're not even thinking about business on an international level where we can come in and get some of that money. I got a homie who has a master's in construction management from Georgia Tech, and I'm going to pick his brain on seeing if he's interested in doing it, because we've talked about it before, but I want to see if he's really still interested in it. because these opportunities are available. But when you said, some of the things that you just said as far as the carpenters and stuff like that, I was like, okay, so it made me like, okay, I was right to think on that level. So the opportunities are there. So now that's when we have to really start we have to understand how to sell cross culturally. We have to learn other people's culture so we'll know that when it comes to doing business, we're not going over there, we're not, offending people and things like that. We're going to have to become much more global in how we look at the world, especially from a money-making endeavor perspective, because you just don't want to leave any money on the table that's out there available when you have a skill set that can go out there and grab some of that market share, not just domestically, but globally.
No, you're absolutely right. And so there's already, if you're an American, if you're African American, you want to do business on the continent, there's already, the African Chamber of Commerce and African Developer Bank. There's all sorts of infrastructure, financial infrastructure, technical and legal infrastructure in place for you to actually engage in this. And so I mentioned the continent because I think it would behoove us if we start working with like-minded people across, the diaspora, because like you said, in engineering cannabis, about the construction company, starting a construction company, real estate company, management, things like that. They have contracts over there, and they're way more preferable to do business with African Americans than they would be to do it with Chinese or other Asian entities. And so rather than to fight, for contracts here, there's a lot of contracts over there that can be done. And there's billions of dollars on the table because even the Chinese come with, to outbid on contracts. But if we're talking about, renewable energy, farming, agriculture, especially things like cannabis and the supply chain aspect, micro transportation, all of that stuff is up for grabs over there. And we're not even having that conversation about engaging in it. And so that's why for me, these conversations are very important. And I'm really sensitive to when I hear people kind of say that, those contracts that the Africans have with the Chinese, they're just stealing all the land and they're just robbing the Africans blind. That's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily true. You're more likely to get robbed blind here than you are over there. In terms of these sort of multi-scale infrastructure and civil engineering contracts and tech contracts. To my knowledge, I haven't heard of anybody on the ground being robbed by Chinese people. I haven't heard about that. So I don't like having this sort of conjecture about, well, somebody's doing something over there, and like you're not in the same room with these people when they design these contracts and they sign them. So how would you be able to know if something nefarious is going on over there if you're not really at the table? And do Black men really want to be at the table? Are they ready for that? And so that's kind of the frustrations that I endeavor when I see some of these live streams and these panels and these people make up these sort of stories that say, such and such is happening, and that's why we shouldn't be over there. Cut the check and this and that. And it's like, nah, that's nothing good is going to come from the conversation that you're having because it's not actionable at the end of the day. And so for me, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity that's going to come from the civil engineering contracts and the tech contracts over there. A lot of your fourth industrial opportunities over there are still green right now, very green. You still have a lot of roads that have not been paved. They don't even have the same postal system that we have, unless you're talking about with the exception of Liberia. But they don't have the same postal system. So what's happening here is when you need to deliver a package, where does it go?
Right, I've seen it. I've seen the dirt roads. I've seen that's what got me. That's one of the things that got me thinking about the development. I'm like, something as simple as paving roads out there. You know, I mean that within itself like completely enhances the grid because now you can move product much more efficiently. And so,
Yeah, absolutely. Sidewalks,
yeah,
right? Handicap accessibility. We
yeah,
have that in the United States. That came out of the Bush administration in the early '90s. You know,
yeah,
the I forget the name of the bill, but basically that work still needs to be done. I've been over there walking around, and you go from a paved road to a dirt road in just a matter of 30 seconds,
yeah.
just like that. It's just the way how it is. You know, a lot of things, a lot of projects got started, didn't get finished, didn't get completed, and for some areas, it you know either it's because of funding or indigenous people don't want to be moved, or you have to work with the indigenous people and things like that. And so even Amazon and Microsoft is going through these sort of problems when they want to put up data centers over there. Whose land does it belong to? Can we put it up there? Is there enough electricity available? Is there enough water available to cool down the data centers and things like that, or even provide water to the building itself?
Mm,
These sort of conversations matter. So you can't just, for those who want to get into business, you can't just automatically assume everything is up and going. You're starting from scratch. You have to operate as if you're starting from scratch.
mm,
Is this viable? How much energy is available? I mean, how much energy is available? How much water is available? How do we operate if there is no water? Right?
right.
You have to start thinking more innovatively. When you go into these sort of areas of development, because you have to assume going forward that there's not enough resources available to put up certain levels of infrastructure. Even in the United States, I remember I was talking with actually I was watching the Economic Forum this morning, World Economic Forum, and they were talking about New York City needs at least 1,000 gigawatts of power to meet their needs by 2030.
Ooh, man.
I don't even think people really understand the significance of what 1,000 gigawatts is. A gigawatt is a lot of power, but 1,000 gigawatts is a heck of a lot more power. And New York City does not have that capacity yet. They're still working on it. And so you imagine, and they're actually working with the Canadian government to pipe, energy into New York, so they can actually backfill a lot of that stuff. That's the scalability that I'm talking about. Like, that's not something you can just go down to Home Depot, and kind of pick up a generator and call it a day. That's not how it works. It requires a lot more thorough thinking. And to Engineering Cannabis's point and Dr. Dunbar's point, we have to have people who can understand electrical engineering to that extent. You have to have people who understand master carpentry as to how do we build these these buildings and infrastructure and things of that nature. How does all this get put together? Same thing with plumbing and gas fitting. Africa has an exuberant amount of gas compared to Europe. Europe is extremely dependent upon Algerian gas, as well as now they discovered gas in Mozambique and Tanzania, or Tanzania, as some people want to call it. And so they have enough gas reserves to satisfy Europe. They don't even need the Russians at this point. Africa is in the right position right now because of the conflict that's happening in Ukraine, that everyone is running to the continent now to find resources because they can't get it from the Russians, and they can't get it from Ukraine because the place has been demolished. So what else are they going to do? They need soybeans and wheat and things of that nature that they used to get from the Russians and the Ukrainians. Not going to be able to get that for a while, and so you're going to see inflation take place. It's going to impact the price of commodities. Well, Africa's starting to look like a very viable aspect now for doing business, and now Africans can demand their own prices. They can set their own prices for the commodities. Are we going to be a part of that discussion, or are we going to be on the outside talking about who's going to come to the table?
Right, because I was looking at something recently. I think it might have been on Bloomberg, and it was talking about in Nigeria, and they have all the oil there. But the problem is that they don't have the refineries necessary to process it. They like it. And, obviously, man, from our, cultural legacy, I mean, black men have been building. I mean, we've been instrumental in helping build America. I mean, we can go to some hoods in the United States, man, and find some crackheads that know how to build a house. I mean, we have the capability. Like I said earlier, like we have black construction companies out here, but we just not look. We're not looking at the. One of the things that has really hurt us as a collective of men, we have, as a collective, have forgot how to think globally, see the world from a global perspective.
Mhm.
And so this really is hampering our collective ability to actually develop um, fully as a group of people, because we've become such an insular type of people, scared of the world, suspicious of everything, not fully wanting to engage. But kind of like how in the movie Black Panther, how Wakanda was. Obviously they had the technology and all that type of stuff, but they were very insular as a people. And we have to get out of that mentality of being so insular, because I mean, even like I said, talking to you, like you've shown that they want to work with us. So, and even when we look at the history in terms of people like Booker T, we have a cultural history of us already doing this type of stuff. Like, we have this in the history, literally, of it being done before. So this is nothing new. It's just that now the times are calling for us to get back into that way of thinking, because that's truly how we need to be thinking, just on a general basis. This just needs to be the way. This just needs to be at the forefront of our brain as we move through this world and try to address some of the issues that are before us. Because the same issues that are before us are before a lot of people in the world. The difference is we connected to America, so we got a distinct advantage over a lot of other people for right now, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. You have access to high levels of, education in ways that most other countries do not. You have access to financial systems that most other countries do not. You have access. You have a library card. Most other people don't have library cards outside the United States. I don't know if
Exactly.
anybody,
Right.
understood that.
Right.
Right. And
Hey
so,
y'all, I'm back. My bad.
okay.
Yeah, the fire to put out. Well, it's not out yet. Sorry. Oh boy, it's gonna be a long night.
No, so what I wanted to do is actually share this share this video. Let me see if it has sharing capabilities on here.
You should be able to share, dude.
We won't watch the whole video, but I want to play the majority of it so that we get a
Okay.
gist as to what's happening on the continent. Let me see. Can you see my screen?
Yep. Hold on. Yes, sir.
All right. Let me expand this out. Hopefully, we don't get flagged for this, but I don't think we should. Let me play this real quick.
Okay. Fair use. Fair use. I always wanted to say that. Hey, Mike, you turn the audio up? It's kind of hard to hear the audio.
You can't hear it?
It's real low. I'm not sure why.
I think that might be. Let me see.
I can like faintly hear it for some strange reason.
Uh, You can hear me, but you can't hear the video.
No, you can hear the video too, just a little bit though. It's real low in the back. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to hear what they're
I
saying.
just turned it up. I just turned it up.
Okay. Yeah, what is that? Why is it sound so low? Is it a share audio function maybe? Is that what it is?
It's playing loud for me.
It's playing loud for you? Like, yeah, it's not coming across on this end. Ryle, can you hear it?
I can see it, but I can't hear it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can literally hear it faintly in the background. I don't know why the sound's coming out like that. Is this some Bloomberg shit? You can't.
I think it might be StreamYards. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Drop that link too, so I can click on it. Let me see it.
Yeah, if people want to just pull it up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're fine.
See, the
Can you hear
problem
the
is
video?
I can only hear it. I can only hear it like a little bit in the background. That's why I'm like, why is the audio low on the video?
I don't know. Let me check StreamYards.
Click that volume and see if it's extended all the way out.
Because it's almost as if it's like it's playing it, in the background in your room or some shit. Like I can just hear it faintly.
Okay, let's try this again. Can you hear it now? Can you hear it now?
No, man. What the heck?
No, I think it's StreamYards, man.
Probably StreamYards.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can you just put that in the in the chat, Mike?
Yeah. Why don't I put it in the back chat and you play it?
Okay. All right. I'll do that. All right, let's see here.
Appreciate it, bro.
Okay. Hold on. Let's see here. Wait. Let me see. You guys see it? Do you guys see it?
Yeah, I see it. I got it.
Okay.
In the back,
All right.
All right.
All right. Let's see if you guys hear it? You guys hear it?
I can't see anything.
Wait a minute, man. What the hell's going on with StreamYard, dude? What the fuck? Hold on. Okay. So, wait a minute. Wait. Okay. That's what happened. That is what happened. Because there we go. All right. Here it goes. Can y'all hear it now?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay. All right.
Was known as the Silicon
Fair use.
Valley,
Fair use.
coming from the Silicon Valley. A lot of early adopters
You got to put the volume up.
started creating a community and
Okay, there it is.
that has now led to the creation of the African tech space.
After over a decade of development, Africa's startup scene is booming. Last year, the tech sector attracted a record $5 billion, more than the total amount raised in the previous 3 years combined.
It's actually kind of mind-blowing in many ways. The pace of growth in the last couple of years is incredible in terms of the amount of funding coming into the continent.
And that is particularly because there was a lot of interest and excitement from US investors. We saw some really scaling up their investments.
The continent also saw the creation of a record number of 5 unicorns, private companies valued over $1 billion. And this year looks even more promising.
This creation of unicorns that has more or less proved to investors that you can make African tech companies into multi-billion-dollar companies that are profitable on the continent.
It's a vibrant place to be. We've got great innovators, and we're beginning to see that evolve quickly.
But Africa's startup scene is still much smaller compared to the rest of the world. With regulation differences and income disparities across the continent, can African startups keep growing?
When you talk of the genesis of tech in Africa, you'd have to go back when government started promoting the internet and the use of the internet. We started seeing a pipeline of software engineers that came out. And some of the things that they started doing was really making applications, for instance, HR management applications for universities, for hospitals, for large stores and factories.
Also, in the 1990s, big tech companies brought cell phones to the continent, laying foundations for Africa's mobile internet age. Kenya has been one of the hubs leading Africa's tech innovation since the 2000s.
Yeah, you can argue that Nairobi is where Africa's tech started. So in the late 2000s, with the advent of the sea cables coming onto the coast of Kenya and with the availability of well-educated young people, a community was created in Nairobi. And iHub was one of the first community spaces on the continent that brought innovation groups together.
Founded back in 2010 by a group of like-minded techies, iHub provided a much-needed space for entrepreneurs in Nairobi to meet, share ideas, and develop products.
The first 3 years of iHub was amazing. There was this energy that was on another level of people to actually chat with each other, people to build prototypes, people having hackathons, like hackathon after week, just to kind of like see who could develop the best app, trainings happening, people giving their time to actually like train the young developers. So it was really intense of how amazing the community was from all levels, academia, from corporate, from government, to tech community itself. We've had like hundreds of startups that came out of the iHub ecosystem. Some have actually been very successful.
Since its inception, iHub has helped create 150 startups and created more than 2,500 jobs, achieving what the Kenyan government tried to but couldn't do.
You see world-class office space. We see launchpads to extraordinary startups and profitable organizations.
In 2008, 2 years before iHub was born, the state proposed a plan to build a tech hub called Konza Technopolis, about 60 kilometers southeast of Nairobi. But over a decade later, the project is still a work in progress.
You cannot force innovation to happen. It's not just the space that you need, it's the people that come with it. It's a talent that needs to build this tech space.
Pause it right there.
Another mile.
You heard what he said.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I've been trying to tell people in the space. That's exactly what I've been trying to tell people. And they're still having trouble building out that tech space because, like I was saying to Ryle earlier, you need those blue collar guys who can come in there with the construction and the electrical engineering background and so on and so forth. That's why they're having difficulty building it. And so the conversation I had when I was over there was exactly that.
Man.
It's exactly that. If you play the rest of the video, it's gonna everything that the Brain Trust has been saying is right in the video. And
Where?
so and that video only came. No, I don't see it. That video only came out a week and a half ago.
Wow.
Wait, hold on.
Milestone in Kenya's tech history was the birth of M-Pesa, a mobile phone-based money transfer service. It was launched in 2007 by Safaricom, Kenya's biggest telecom company, partly owned by the UK firm Vodafone. Like many African countries, Kenya's banking system was underdeveloped, and a huge majority of the population didn't have a bank account. That meant transferring money was difficult.
We start with the send money home proposition because Kenya has a rural to urban migration, and everyone in the urban areas was sending money to rural areas. And that meant taking time off work or over the weekend to go see your parents and give them money. I remember in 2007, I used to travel almost 500 kilometers from Nairobi to go give my mom money. Just with the advent of the send money home proposition, that changed how we send money in Kenya dramatically.
But smartphones hadn't arrived yet in Kenya, and so the M-Pesa team relied on USSD and SIM Toolkit, the same technology used for sending an SMS. Users registered for an M-Pesa account with their SIM cards, put cash into the account through an M-Pesa agent, and then sent the money by phone. Recipients could also cash out through an agent. The transaction fee for sending money was 30 Kenyan shillings, about 26 cents.
It went on and was developed into a complex payment system where people can not only just transfer money but can also pay bills, borrow, and there are now even investment products that are on M-Pesa. In fact, even the Kenyan government used the system to sell bonds at one time.
Damn.
Now we have 30 million active customers on the M-Pesa Kenya ecosystem. Today, well over 50% of the GDP of Kenya is actually flowing through it.
The success of M-Pesa ushered in mobile money across the country.
50% of the GDP is going right through the hands of their phones.
Straight up. They just went right to digital.
And the conversation I had with you last week offline was about microtransportation and what? It's not this difficult, man.
It's really
it's not this difficult to understand where this is going.
Oh my God.
Play the video, please.
Good. All right.
Continent, spawning the birth of other startups trying to solve everyday problems in Africa. Among them, Sendi, a Nairobi-based digital logistics company facilitating door-to-door deliveries between individuals and businesses.
Oh shit. Wait a minute, dude. Wait. Hold on.
I knew that's why I wanted to
Okay. I just need to get ready for what I'm about to hear, dude.
In Africa is quite fragmented and quite costly. And if you have an item on the shelf for about $10, about $4 to $6 of that is we can attribute that to logistics. Over 40 to 60% of that. And that's a problem we sought out to solve, to reduce that to a single digit form. And technology has allowed companies like Sendi to aggregate the informal logistics sector into a more homogeneous kind of play that all these businesses can actually trade. When you talk about shipping, you have to also talk about payments. We started in Kenya because we kind of saw how the digital economy was growing in Kenya, and the penetration we had seen in mobile money in this market enabled us to move quite fast on that.
2021 was a breakout year for startups like Sendi. With the COVID-19 pandemic, many consumers turned to online services for grocery deliveries, tutoring, and healthcare. African startups raised a record $5 billion last year, and nearly 2/3 of the top 20 largest disclosed deals involved investors from the U.S.
In 2016, Mark Zuckerberg visited Kenya and he interacted with the tech space. In 2019,
Jack
Dorsey
was over in South
countries
Africa
on the continent, was also planning on actually living in Africa for 6 months. The interest has been there. What changed was that companies proved that, one, that investors can exit and make money for their investment, but secondly, that you're able to scale on the continent.
The money pouring into Africa's tech sector minted 5 unicorns last year, a huge number for the ecosystem, given the continent only has 6 unicorns so far, and 4 of those are Nigeria-based.
As far as monetization of tech and startups is concerned, Nigeria came in a little bit later, but has had the hugest success in terms of monetization.
The African unicorns that we have now are mainly in Nigeria because there's money and economy to be mobilized there.
One of those unicorns is Flutterwave, a fintech startup facilitating cross-border payments.
Africa specifically was a very complicated market from a digital payments perspective. It was a very fragmented market in the sense that we had over 50 countries. We have, to date, about 40 currencies in circulation and over 300 types of digital payments. And so what Flutterwave does is pull all of those different payment types across the countries, across currencies, onto one platform, so that as an individual or as a business, it becomes much more easier for you to reach your customers or for you to send peer-to-peer transfers to family members, friends in other geographies.
Flutterwave caused a lot of excitement in 2021. It did not just become a unicorn, but it became a unicorn in 5 years, which was quite a short period of time. And its founder, Agbola, really became, a go-to person on how to do it, in Africa.
We are focused on building new products that will make a very positive impact on the lives of everyone that comes across those products. In fact, that's what fintech means to us.
Today, over 900,000 businesses use Flutterwave, and over 200 million individual transactions have been processed on the platform. Nigeria is the company's biggest market, but it has ambitions to expand in Africa and even go global.
We're starting with Egypt and Morocco. And beyond that, we're also looking to build a base outside of Africa. We're looking at Europe, we're looking at the US. Eventually, we'll have our eyes on Canada as well. So it's really exciting times for us.
But compared with the rest of the world, African startups are still much smaller in size. And while money piles into the continent's 4 big tech hubs, startups in smaller markets, including those run by women, are still struggling to secure funding.
Even with a lot of capital coming in, again, it's chasing very specific industries, certain markets. So if you're kind of not in those industries, markets, or necessarily have the networks, which is one of the challenges a lot of women have, there's significant difference between how much money is going to all male founders versus teams that have women founders or all women. We're really talking about single digits. We're talking about single digits of all that investment actually going to women-led and women-owned businesses. We are in a continent where our digital destiny is like what we're focused on. And so how do you really think about adjusting and ensuring there's more equitable distribution of the economic gains that we made from this?
Lack of basic infrastructure and regulations also create problems for African startups, those that are looking to develop their business and scale up across the continent.
Pause.
The basics still need work.
We just had that conversation 10 minutes ago, right?
Yep.
Basic infrastructure is still needed. Just had that conversation. This video, man, keep watching.
I'll drop the link after it's finished.
For example, in Nigeria, the need to have access to energy is something that the government needs to help facilitate. Similarly, in terms of road and railway, in majority of the continent, are huge investments that still need to be done so that startups that are working, say, in logistics are able to kind of plug into that system.
Regulation is different across these markets. So the regulation in Kenya is quite different from regulation in other countries that we deal with. And having to deal with that is quite painful for a business like us.
Some of the fintechs innovate and then go to the regulator, or innovate and are not aware of the laws. You're seeing some of the countries rolling out tax laws that are targeting such an emerging industry, whether it's e-commerce and so on, in the nascent stages of growth. When you're taxed, that could limit the potential of it.
While the continent is large and we have a lot of people on mobile, you have more people using the internet, the reality is that it can be hard to get a good grasp of the size of the consumer base that you can really monetize. We certainly are in a market with a lot of inequity and don't have necessarily the purchasing power at an average consumer base than some other markets have.
But starting up in Africa still has its advantages. The continent has the youngest population in the world, with 70% of sub-Saharan Africa under the age of 30. Young Africans provide the continent with a rich talent pool.
You heard it.
Fastest
Bruh, I didn't know
You heard that.
Fastest growing talent pool.
Yep. Wait a minute. Wait. Just let me do this real quick. Where's it at? Right? What do we have, Mike? Right here, Africa, brain capital.
Mm-hmm.
Woo.
Right there. That's your youth. That's your talent.
Bro, that's a wrap, bro.
Brain capital, right there.
I'm definitely going to the continent, bro.
There it is, right there.
I'm going there. Bro, I did not know that, bro. That is amazing, bro.
That's why we put that right there. Brain capital. All these young, look, they don't have the infrastructure, but there's a knowledge. There's knowledge capital right there.
Mm.
That's why what Mike was saying, the investment side of it and being involved on the infrastructure side is key for us because of what they have. What does it say right there? Rich talent pool.
Wow. Africa also benefits from a vast diaspora, an estimated 40 million people in North America alone.
As someone who was educated in the US, and the first wave, I would say, when I came back and many diaspora before me, was coming back to the continent and physically being here, starting companies or working at places like Google, where I worked, the tech companies that were setting up on the continent. And I think over some time, what we're starting to see as a shift is that there's a lot of opportunities for the diaspora to not move back, but to play a role in different ways. So diaspora who are investing in tech companies, some who are advising tech companies, and I think opens up more opportunity for this collaboration of diaspora with those on the continent.
The potential, we're just still scratching the surface.
Who's been saying this for the last 5 years in this space?
I'll go ahead and concede that I took an L to Mike V over this shit.
Who's been saying all this?
I took one too, bro. Don't be ashamed, bro. I took an L too. Mike with his know-it-all self. Yeah, I took an L too, bro.
Man, listen.
Oh my God.
I had a conversation with Complex back in 2016, 2017, and we went back and forth for months about this. And she just said exactly what I told him back 2016,
like
2017.
6 years ago and shit.
And I said, you're crazy not to acknowledge this. This is huge. You got 1 billion people over there. And she said, you got 40 million people over here. The opportunity and the investment is in the infrastructure and the consulting side. And she just said it. And this video just came out. I had said that 5 years
ago. This is a week ago. This is what? Let me see.
Mike. Complex, what I've been saying, that consulting, bro.
Yeah, she just said it.
Yeah,
just said it.
Okay. Go ahead, finish playing.
And we'll be seeing a lot more growth in the next 5 to 10 years.
We're going to have more companies that are valued at 2 billion, 4 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion, and even more. We're going to see, some initial public offerings from some of these companies.
Tech startups are already playing a big role on the continent. They're creating employment. They're creating solutions to problems that are faced by the regular citizenry. They're providing innovation that is making ability to do business easier, cheaper, and more efficient. In the next few years, just going to get better and easier to do business on the continent.
I mean, that literally, dude, in a nutshell.
That's it, bro. That backs up
in a nutshell, that was like legit, like it.
Wow. Appreciate that, Mike.
Hey, no problem. I mean, what more can we say at this point? I mean, that's coming from Bloomberg.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Let me make sure I drop that link too. Hold up.
Yeah, you can ignore me, and you can ignore the Brain Trust. You're not going to ignore Bloomberg.
I'm sorry.
You can say we don't know. You can say you guys don't know what you're talking about. Actually, Bloomberg is saying the same thing today in 2022 that I was saying in 2016 and 2017.
5 years ago and shit.
Yeah, you was ahead of that.
So
real talk.
Wow.
you got a company called Cindy that says, "Hey, we have a problem with logistics on the continent, and we see a need to build application infrastructure around the delivery functionality for all these goods." You get somebody like Complex who has a startup that does just that.
Yeah, dude, that's why as soon as they touched on that, I said, "Oh goddamn, Jesus."
She's talking about combining African Americans, ADOS, whatever you want to call yourself, with people on the continent with 6 unicorns over there.
Yeah, startups less than 5 years old that reached a valuation of $1 billion or more.
Complex used to work for a unicorn.
Bird.
Called Bird. What are we talking about here? Right? What are we talking about here?
They don't like us though.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
That's why. So to Rael's point, and to further elaborate on what Rael was saying, that's why I snapped on the panel over there. It wasn't anything personal, but it was more about, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That was months ago that I was on that panel. And this Bloomberg video just came out a few weeks ago. So I wasn't that far off. We weren't that far off. Bloomberg is not that far off.
Booker T. Washington wasn't that far off apparently either.
Yeah, Booker T. Washington wasn't that far off. And so that's
Garvey wasn't either.
Shit, Garvey either.
Yeah. And so we're in this sort of space in society of fourth industrialization that this is a time that no one's ever seen before. They haven't seen anything like this before. You can look at the video, you can see how fast paved roads go into dirt. You can see how many, over 50 to 60% of the vehicles over there have 2 wheels. What are we talking about here?
But at the same time, you got literally banking being done on phones.
60% of the country's GDP is in the hands of the people on their phones.
Literally.
Wow.
70% of the people on the continent are below the age of 35. What are we talking about here, man?
Wow.
I'm gonna go here again.
All you got to do is build a viable business that can interface with the continent, tap the human capital there, and you're gonna make a lot of money.
There it is, right there.
That's all you got to do. That's it.
But you have people who want to sit down at a proverbial table and have that's what frustrates me, is that we're not they're in a faster lane than we are. There's no excuse.
Oddly enough,
they're in a faster lane, even though we have more to our advantage than they do.
Oddly enough,
right.
That's what makes it so backwards.
Oddly enough,
right. And so we have a lot of opportunity right now. Like she said, it's opening up. Regulation, deregulation, and ease of doing business is only going to get better.
Yep.
Only going to get better.
Yeah, some of these countries recognize that. I've seen it with countries like Ghana. Talk about making investment easier for specifically Black Americans to invest on the continent.
Specifically Ghana. Ghana is really Afro-American friendly, and so because they have a bank over there called EcoBank, which is basically a Pan-African bank, but to the scope of the discussion, what Booker T left behind, a lot of guys dropped the ball, and you can blame external variables if you want to, the war on drugs and so on and so forth, but you have people over there who barely have running water, barely have electricity.
Well, Mike, no, I mean, just going over the historical, record here of Booker T largely had to do with us.
Yeah.
Okay, had to do with us, and to contrast
The,
that,
the cultural legacy of black business is black. I hate to have to say this, man. Is black people undermining black business interests? That's the cultural legacy. That's it.
there you go, and that's largely what uh really and I don't want to say prevented Booker T's vision from seeing fruition, because it did, because as we've clarified here, U.S. Chamber of Commerce is actually modeled off of that. So ultimately, it did see, I would say, a high level of success. It does not reflect us from a communal standpoint, though, right? Because it was black folks that largely uh, pushed against him. Meanwhile, the government said, "Hey, great idea."
Yep, we'll take that out here. We'll take it.
Well, that's not the first.
We'll take that.
That's not the first time that the
and
government.
That's not the first time. Yeah,
it's not the first time the government has taken ideas
right.
and intellectual property away from black people and not giving them.
Well, no, but
credit,
I'm saying, but
right?
Mike, but what I'm saying is that pushback from your own people helps facilitate that the expedition of that happening, as opposed to it being actualized internally, right?
Yeah.
All the bylaws and all that shit that were written was written for the black business class to suit the needs of the black community. That's originally why it was done. It was so good and so effective in its design, though, that the U.S. government felt as though
Right.
they needed.
That says it all. That says it all right there.
That's very telling, because now let's bring it on back. Jesus Christ, had there not been pushback at that time, had there not been pushback, how maybe what do you think it is that we could have realized at that time? Had there not been pushback? I mean, because the U.S. government seems to have realized an awful lot from it.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue that. Well, I won't go into that right now, but I just think that we're in the right position to start making moves. We're in the right position to start making moves based on everything that we just saw in that video, based on discussions that we've been having over the last couple of years, or even the last 9 months. We're in the right position to start making moves. The capital is two things that's that's very similar between black people in America and on the continent. One, they lack the infrastructure. We don't have access to the same level of infrastructure in the capacity that they are looking for too. Right? If you go into a predominantly black neighborhood, we don't have incubators in the same way they do.
No.
Right? The government had the foresight in Kenya to say, we need to build our own Silicon Valley.
Same with Rwanda.
Right. In Kigali, right?
Right.
We don't in our communities, we don't have a Silicon Valley.
We don't even think to put just little tech hub, like a tech alley or some shit. Right.
You can say like a maker lab or something like, but that's not the same as what their ambitions are trying to drive for unicorns, right? If one unicorn can turn a black community into a gold mine overnight.
Right.
So when we start thinking about building wealth, right, and passing down wealth, right, generational wealth. The generational wealth is not going to be in a house,
no,
right? Because there's too much volatility in the house. But when you start talking about a community-owned unicorn that's worth $1 billion, $2 billion, etc., that's going to be handed down for generations. That's a different conversation. The generational wealth is going to be in the NFTs. It's going to be in the cryptos. It's going to be in the intellectual
IoT,
property on the blockchain, etc. Right? And so we have to think different. We have to approach this different. And I think that maybe we have this conversation amongst ourselves, but I think there's a lot of people who are not thinking long term. That's why the cut the check movement, that's what they're missing. They're missing the bigger picture, because even if they did cut the check, it's not a guarantee you're going to get a check.
I mean, right. And then okay, and then they cut it. Then what? Mike, do you even remember the reparations conversations, right? Where we were looking at it more of like from an institutional infrastructure standpoint, where everybody was just like, yo, I want to direct deposit it into my account. And we were just like, For what? So you just spend it up?
Well, I mean, there's a variety of ways that reparations can come in.
Yeah.
Land, because realistically, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, those places had their land taken. People had Black people's land taken from them.
Mm-hmm.
So land is really the bigger asset here, not the check. It's the land. No, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying to those people who missed
you're absolutely right, dude. What about Evanston?
Right. Well, Evanston is one thing, but I'm saying the real reparations discussion is surrounded from South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, those Confederate states where Black people were gaining their ability to vote and really exercise, their inclusionary aspect of capitalism. And so they were excluded from it. And so what the cut the check movement doesn't understand is that land is a part of that.
Yeah.
And the value in the land today is exponential from what it was back then. So cutting the check, they can cut a check for, let's say, $50,000 or something like that if they put it in today's money, right?
I knew you was going to go there.
Right? If they put it in today's money, oh yeah, I got my check, but you didn't get any land.
Well, no, I was going to say, okay, you cut the check, but you can cut a check, and then you're talking about value, monetary value, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, so they cut a check, and then let's just say that for whatever reason, we go through an economic dip or whatever, and that check, so to speak, loses value.
Oh, you're talking about inflation.
Yeah. Versus the actual hard asseture that you're talking about, the actual land, right? Physical things and stuff like that, right? That basically store value. Yeah, that a check is a check, man. But inflation will eat that shit up. High gas prices will eat that shit up.
Yeah,
land is land.
Because you can't even. I mean, think about 6 months ago, before the war even started in Ukraine. Gas prices, I don't know what it was in California. I know out here, I was paying.
Shit, man, right now, dude, $6. $6.
So you're paying $6 now, but what was it 9 months ago? 6 months ago?
$4.49.
Right. So you look at the cost of fuel versus milk, eggs, other staples. Your $50,000 doesn't go the same way it did 9 months ago. But that land,
you can develop that and make it appreciate in value too.
That can be handed back over time. And so what I'm saying, what I'm trying to get the cut the check movement to understand is that the whole the money, physical dollar, give me the dollar, that is dead. In Africa, they're talking about de-dollarization. When I was over there, they was talking about de-dollarization, getting off the US dollar and moving to cryptocurrencies. So that they wouldn't end up in the same situation that the Ukraine and
wasn't that the whole Cardano move?
Yeah.
Let me post a link to that for y'all that want to check out that whole conference, man, because I was there for that one.
Yeah.
I mean virtually, because this was during whatchamacallit. But wait, hold on. All right, you guys got to go ahead. I'm gonna dig it up and post it.
Right, and so agriculture, right, the ability to produce your own food and other sort of major staples for consumption, that is going to pay for itself time over time. Now, if you start talking about incubators, that's going to pay for itself time over time. They got 6 unicorns over there. We don't even have one of you.
We don't have one.
We don't have one.
I'm trying to be one.
Yeah, one.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's the goal. We're trying to be one.
No, that's the plan I'm on. I'm on
a
$1 billion plan, bro. Multi-billion-dollar plan. When you see and I told you this before Complex. I said we're the type of men who have envisioned millions and billions of dollars. When you can see it, you just operating in a different frame of mind. It's one thing to play the lottery. It's another thing to formulate a plan in terms of business that you know that when you execute it properly, man, you're gonna be swimming in money. That's a completely different mindset, totally different mindset of what we see. And so, and the reality of the situation is that unfortunately for a lot of these people, this ain't the 1990s anymore.
Yeah,
you're not living in a decade where you can get by with below average intelligence like you could in the 90s. Those days are long gone, and they ain't never coming back, because now you got to deal with competition from other people in the world who are coming online, who are getting knowledge. And what a lot of these people don't realize is that a lot of these people in global in different global arenas, they're utilizing the information produced in the United States to pick themselves up. They're utilizing business knowledge. They're utilizing, they can look at videos of Elon Musk and Buffett, and then next thing you know, they see a book recommended. They're like, oh, I can get that book. That sounds good. Because I've seen people reference some of the books from a business class perspective that they have engaged in reading. So while they're engaged in reading business from an American perspective, we got Black people over here that even when we drop information, they won't read. They won't take the information at all.
They won't fuck with it, bro.
Bro, and that's why they still stuck from 5 or 6 years ago in the space. You can tell the people who haven't read, because they're saying the same things they were saying 4, 5, 6 years ago. They didn't read nothing.
The information is moving at a speed that they can't keep up with. And so that's kind of the purpose of the Black Brain Trust, is to disseminate that information so that you don't actually have to go into the the deep dive for yourself. We kind of talk about it at the high level, but I think to the overarching of this discussion is that we have to think about generational wealth and asset accumulation different than the 20th century did, than the 19th century did. It's not going to be about cutting the check anymore. It's going to be about building up those institutions, and the institutions that they're building up, like this, I think Complex and Scroll Passive, is an incubator. You need that in your community. Because
let me go back up. This is right here.
Yeah, Pan-African Technology Incubator. You need that. Every Black community should have an incubator inside of it.
Every single one.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going to come out of it. The next Facebook, the next metaverse, the next something.
Be the next unicorn, man.
Yeah, it's going to be able to, because $1 billion, like, that's a number that most African Americans can't even conceptualize, for themselves, right? And so we have to think about this and how it applies to, legalization of cannabis. That's another vertical.
Mm-hmm.
Logistics, digital, not digital logistics, but last mile deliveries and other sort of verticals like that. Is going to be where we start building up this new digital class of Black people. There is not going to be no more middle class. That's over and done with. That was done over and done with through the pandemic.
It's the age of the digital nomad.
Yeah, the digital class of people who hold digital assets. If you're not holding a digital asset, you're not a part of that class. You're going to get left behind. That's where everyone else is moving to. So the hoarding of Bitcoins, the hoarding of Ethereum, blockchain is another piece of infrastructure that could be leveraged as an asset. Those things are going to matter. Just, blockchain is going to be just as valuable as a piece of land.
Ooh, I almost wanted to say something to that.
I know it was coming. I was gonna fly out of there.
I mean, no, because I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm really because me and Lionel, because Lionel we both attended this. We both watched. We were here for this one right here. Right. This is the actual. If y'all go to the link that I just sent you, and you hit this right here, this is the keynote. Right, that I'm talking about. And that keynote lays out everything that Mike's talking about on how basically the backbone of a digital currency is going to basically connect Africa, and it's just going to propel it, dude, light years ahead.
they're going to write the standards, and if you want to do business in Africa, you're going to have to comply with their standards.
Yes.
So they're going to be the innovators and the drivers. And what we've been talking about is, what side of the fence do you want to? What side of the table do you want to be on? You want to
We're
be on the
supposed
side
to be
of the
plugging in, Mike. I mean, that's the thing, man. It's like I don't know how many reach outs we've got, right? Not only from the continent, but from the Caribbean as well. It's like, man, where the fuck is ADOS?
Yeah, so many of my experiences is talking to people from Caribbean and people from the continent. When you have throughout the years, many of their approaches towards ADOS is like, yo, what are y'all doing? Why y'all wasting your time? Like what? Like
gender warring, bro.
Like they're just like confused, like because they're looking at Black Americans like, because many Africans have come to the United States, travel back and forth, so they able to see how things are from a general standpoint in Africa, and then they're looking at you in America and looking at all the advantages that you have, and they're looking at you like
what the fuck
what are you doing?
What are you doing, man?
Like, I mean, if we're going to use people going through something as an excuse to fail, they can literally say, well, shit, we got colonized. We should give up too. Like, so
man, that's bullshit, man. We talked about earlier. Booker T. Washington had expeditions from Tuskegee on the continent.
Yes.
Oh my God. He was already trying over 100 years ago. Okay.
He went from being in slavery to a Black businessman in one lifetime.
From his educational institution over to Togo and other locations in Africa, right? Had the goddamn commerce, Chamber of Commerce mechanism set up to patch it all together. Over 100 years ago. This
100 years ago.
So anything that the Brain Trust has been talking about, or anybody that speaks to this type of level of business being conducted by Black folks here in the United States, this is nothing new.
Finding out this information from Booker T completely, not that the Brain Trust is in the wrong, but completely exonerates the Brain Trust, and it reinforces and supports the reason why the Black Brain Trust is in existence. Booker T. Washington's whole entire business projection for Black people completely is reciprocated in what the Black Brain Trust has set up. It's literally in the cultural mode of what Booker T. Washington set forth years ago. It's an exact same mode.
I mean, it's so good that the goddamn United States government had to use it.
Well, you can say that about a lot of things that Black people have,
of course,
invented back then. But to really further drive this point home, we also have Black Tech Week coming up in Cincinnati.
Let me get the link for that so I can post it.
Yeah, we can share it on the screen too.
Yeah. Let me pull that up. Go ahead. Oh, you got it, Mike. Go ahead, dude.
I was just saying,
pulling it up.
So building, so the purpose of these sort of networking events and whatnot is about building up the social capital. Who do you know, right? How big is your Rolodex? They say you can tell a man's net worth by the 5 people he stays in contact with, or the 5 people in the circle, for that matter, 5 men in the circle.
This is it right here. I'm gonna post a link. This is in Cincinnati. This is Black Tech Week.
Yep.
Yeah, that's in July. I'm about to check that out.
Yep. And so, July. Yeah, I met a guy on the continent when I was there who was actually traveling there for leisure, and he happened to be wearing his nursing scrubs. and someone tapped him. They thought he worked at one of the local hospitals. He said no, he was just out there, on leisure, on vacation. And so they actually asked him, they had a conversation, and it led to him actually running a couple of hospitals over there as like the head nurse, the head RN. He's an RN here, but he happened to go over there to be over there, traveling. And now he runs a couple of the hospital networks out there in, I think either Tanzania or something like that, or not Mozambique. It's one of the English-speaking countries. But yeah, that's how things work. And so there's a lot of opportunity that's going to come out of these conversations, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity that's going to come out of people who want to get down, with fourth industrialization and actually moving forward. I think that a lot of people who blow this stuff off are going to find themselves. Oh, I'm getting some feedback. They're going to find themselves in a situation where they can't get in, and it's going to be too late.
And Mike, you peeping some of the past partners here. Look.
Oh yeah, Y Combinator.
That's the biggest one. It's one of the biggest ones right there.
Yep, on the continent they're real big.
Is that One United Bank? Is that bank for the black business bank?
It's the biggest black bank in America.
Right here.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Look who the past partners are.
Yep.
Morgan Stanley.
Ford has always been
part of Mark Kennan Jr. Charitable Trust, Family Foundation, Knight Foundation. Yep, see.
Florida International University, FIU, Ford, BT.
Dell.
Shit, man.
Yeah, Dell.
I'm looking at this one right here, though. Y Combinator, man.
Yeah, they have a channel on YouTube.
Well, for those of y'all that don't know, Y Combinator has had their hands literally in some of the biggest startups from Web 1.0 up till now. Okay, Y Combinator was there since the jump, just the beginning. They done got behind so many companies. Matter of fact, they got behind a company that I was involved in, Open Motors, or it was OS Vehicle, which became Open Motors after Y Combinator took them on, and then GM bought a 2% stake. I was a project developer for this back in 2015 for Open Motors. That's how I got into the EV shit. It was through Open Motors, basically, and BME bikes. But yeah, this is Black Tech Week here. Let me see if I posted this. I think I did.
Yep.
Man, that's for 5 days too. That's what's up.
It's all
yeah,
week.
Man.
It's all week, man. It's the, it's one of the comparable things that we have over here that they do on the continent. On the continent, they got a dozen of those that happen throughout the year, and so
they just be popping, right?
Yeah, it just be popping because, like she said, they're seeing a lot of U.S. investors pump money into the continent. But see, then the question now becomes, where is the investment for us?
Come on, bro.
Right? Where's the investment for us? And so we have to approach this differently, because I heard a different discussion over there with Dr. Dunbar and Art Newstall. And there's a lot of misinformation that gets put out there sometimes. African Americans are playing against a different set of odds, or a different deck of cards, for that matter. And so we don't have that. Lack of access to capital is really what's killing African Americans in the tech industry.
Right.
Which is why we don't have any unicorns, because we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the access to the capital. All of that starts to have a cascading effect in how it impacts our ability to partake in, fourth industrialization. And so we have to approach this differently. How are we going to raise this kind of money?
And that's what I see. That's what I was trying to tell. I don't want to say his name, but Complex, when I was on Kev's channel, I was having a back and forth with the little guy, and I said one of the problems that we're having,
the weather system,
right? The reason why we're having such a problem, because I talked about how Kevin Hart, when he was on Shark Tank, because he was a featured guest some weeks back, maybe a couple months ago, actually. He basically connected with the black dude who got Black Sands Entertainment with his wife and the other guy, and he basically was able to sell it, because Mark Cuban got in on the deal as well. And I said, what's happening is that when there's time for investment in black products, in terms of black businesses, in terms of being able to bring something bring it up to a larger scale, when those opportunities get presented to the market, we don't have the venture capitalists out here, black venture capitalists out here, to take advantage of those opportunities. So we're ceding market share to non-blacks because we're not putting ourselves in a position to be there like Kevin Hart did. So when a black person came who could relate to him, that was the main reason why Kevin Hart, he saw it was a great idea, but he was also like, I got the infrastructure in place that can bring this up to the franchise level. He didn't want to just do it because it was something black. He wanted to do it because it was something he could relate to, that he could take it to a high level.
It's adjacent to his industry, bro.
Right. So because you see all the money he's generated in the movies he's been in, like he generated in the $1 billion range. So he wanted to be a part of something like that was impactful, to the point that even Mark Cuban wanted to be a part of it. He was like, can I get in on this with you? And so, because he ain't gonna just support nothing that ain't there. So, because they was talking about the merchandising, because he had the characters with the content. He had everything done. So they seeing the money. They like, okay, we see the t-shirts, we seeing the coffee mugs, we seeing boom, 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 boom. So, yeah. So now, but when those opportunities are available, where are the black venture capitalists that are out here being willing to invest in black businesses? You got black people, they have to go to Shark Tank to get investment in their company because they can't go to black people. They can't go to black people to invest in their companies and in their ideas, which is a part of the cultural legacy that we have that was anti-business, even going back to Booker T time.
Well, you do have Harlem Capital, so you're starting. You do have Melody Hobbs, who's a VC too, who's the wife of the Star Wars guy,
George Lucas.
George Lucas. So they're starting to pop up now, but they weren't around before. Yeah, so to your point, they didn't have anybody to go to, but now that's starting to change. Harlem Capital has been all over the map in terms of making these sort of angel investment stages for investment. On black and minority startups. And so I think there's two parts to this, that you do lack the angel investors and the micro VCs and so on and so forth. But you also have a lot of people who are showing up with some real shoddy work. They're showing up with some real shoddy work, mixtape CDs,
Burn.
With Sharpay markers, man, and I'm like, I don't know, fam.
I don't know. You need to bring a better product to the table.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Scratched up CD, DVD.
Yeah, but somebody like B Mays, that's a viable business. He has a viable startup. We have to look. Yeah, his dispensary is a startup. We have to look at it like it's a startup, right? Anything with a website, an app that can be, electronically accessed, we have to look at it like it's a tech startup too. We can't just.
That's what I be saying, man. I run a startup, dude. This is micromobility, dude. Like my ability to make money on all this shit it comes vis-a-vis people using an app.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything that has, a digital focus to it too. We have to look at it as if it's a startup too, because it has to scale, and that's a part of the precursor. For a startup is the ability to scale. Can it reach exponential, steps, in its process for business development? And so, there's two sides to that coin to what Ryle was saying. We did lack the VCs before, but we also have to, take in some consideration that there's a lot of funny cats out here, man, that be trying to run some game, and it's kind of hard to take them seriously. But the third aspect to this that I wanted to kind of mention is that we don't have a proper system in place. If you're in a predominantly Black neighborhood, you lack access to financial instruments that would allow for something like that to take place. In Silicon Valley, they have a whole entire Silicon Valley bank.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have anything like that. I mean, we have a couple of banks, like One United and a couple of other ones, Caldwell, whatever you want to call them. We don't have an actual place that we can go into and say, I have this idea. How do I scale it up? Outside of going to Y Combinator, we don't have that. That's what I'm saying. Like, we lack that sort of social infrastructure and digital infrastructure that's going to be necessary to get these sort of startups off the ground and these ideas off the ground.
And Mike, but this is the reason why we were also touching on co-ops, consortiums, and trade groups, right?
Bingo.
Because then there's collective efforts, right? So I do a specialization, you do a specialization, Rael does a specialization, but combining the three, there's a singular product that comes out at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then it becomes about combining efforts to break into the market. And see, and that was what Booker T. Washington was really trying to leverage, because he had all the various associations set up to collectivize the efforts of people that were in various professions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then bring it to a globalized market. You gotta collectivize it, dude, and have it in terms of volume and numbers. You have to represent that in order to get a fuller scope of what's available in terms of business and transactions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I, as a singular person, dude, if I try to go make a deal with somebody somewhere, I'll tell you right now, it works a whole lot different if I tell them I got 10 clients behind me coming with me on this transaction, right? Versus just me.
The power in it is the ability to minimize your risk and leverage.
There you go.
That's the beauty. That I don't understand, like, why people cannot get this concept. Lessen your risk, maximize your potential in terms of your leverage. People just really need to understand that concept. That's the reason why he set up the National Negro Business League in the first place. Minimize your risk, come into this consortium where we can help you develop your business. Because what was I reading to you, Complex, where he talked about, we know, he was like, we know the Black consumer better than anybody. So what we need to do is get our business game on so we can maximize that domain, conquer that domain, and then go conquer other domains as well. Like, right. That was the whole point. Like, don't let anybody come into this market, because post-slavery, Black people became a consumer demographic. And once they became a consumer demographic, that meant that they were going to need certain products. So he was like, let us be the one to provide those products for them. Common sense. What Black person could truly be against that?
I don't know. That's what fucks me. That's what fucks me up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a legit.
That's smart. I mean, that just proved that from a historical perspective, we had men who understood that concept. They understood, hey, let's get control over our market. And that's why I can't stand the notion of Black men don't build anything, because I'm like, what are y'all talking about? It was bullshit. There. It's still there.
This society would never work if Black men didn't actually contribute to it.
I mean, it's fucking fundamental, Mike.
Granville Woods, in his contribution to the railroad system and the trolley system, the automatic braking system, the telegraph,
system, the whole shit.
You know, the automatic transmission, mailboxes, the public ledger that is
aluminum foil.
Yeah, the many instrumental, the dustpan, you know, the broom, the mop, you know, all of these things came from Black men inventing things in the 19th and 20th century. So this society doesn't work without Black men.
Like it'd be like a fucking Mandela effect If you woke up tomorrow and every invention that a black man created like didn't exist, watch how your fucking existence would be if you woke up tomorrow.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even be on here.
Okay, let's go there.
We wouldn't even be on here.
Yeah. Shonda mentioned traffic lights and air conditioning. Yeah,
yeah, Shonda.
Gas mask. You know, what I'm saying here is the notion that black men don't build. Maybe they're talking about black men in the manosphere today don't build. Hey, yeah, I would agree with you. They don't build anything.
They build YouTube channels, and I guess they judge the success of that based on their subscribers. How many subscribers do you have?
Yeah, but in the overarching complex or the overarching discussion, no, that doesn't, that doesn't bode well. It doesn't bode well with history. And so
no.
I think, what those black men did in the 19th and 20th century, it's incumbent upon us to actually, to carry that forward. Carry the torch forward. It's unfortunate that we still have people who, they don't see the value in actually inventing anything. I go to the barbershop and, there's guys that have like the new iPhone, the new Samsung Galaxy, and, name your branded product technology. And they're like, oh yeah, I got this. You ain't up on this. And I'm like, you don't even understand how that works. You don't even understand that the Kenyan government, 60% of their GDP goes through that same phone and you're holding it. You don't even understand that. You don't even understand that the power in the app can create a unicorn.
It's an app, bro. I swear to God. It's like, this is why I always push the 4-hour shit, ghost kitchen shit. I'm like, y'all do realize at the end of the day, even though I'm talking about a restaurant, I'm really talking about an app.
Yep. Anyways, let me get up out of here, man.
Hey man, yeah, I gotta shake, man. I gotta get dinner ready for Shorty. Damn. Hey, first of all, man, y'all, my bad, man. I fucked up and cut the live stream, man, because I was like, damn, we was on one. But I'm glad we sparked it back up, man.
Yeah, just name them part 1 and part 2.
No, I got it. I already changed it while we was doing this. I already changed it. This one's part 2, right?
Okay.
So I know Mike had to bounce up out of here. Ryle, you got any last words, man, before we close down?
No, man. Great stream, man. It's always great to come up here and
throw this up too. Make sure y'all hit the Progressive Brothers podcast. Subscribe not only to the YouTube channel but to the Twitter join also.
It's always good to come up here and exchange information with like-minded brothers. I'm just laying out a gauntlet. This is the future. This is the wave of the future. I don't care if you think you're behind as a black person. That's okay, because you can catch up, because you live in an environment that's full of information. That's how you catch up. And don't be intimidated to grasp this. Even in some of the worst conditions we had, we thrived and shined in terms of our ingenuity and coming up with ideas. And so, I would implore many of the people to do their own research on Booker T. Washington. I will give you the 2 books that I recently come across.
You gonna drop those links in the chat?
Yeah, I'll drop the links too.
Okay.
Alabama and Africa, Booker T. Washington, the German Empire and the Globalization of the New South by Andrew Zimmerman. And the Business Strategy of Booker T. Washington, its development and implementation. Black people need to give this man his just due, give him his flowers, because if the U.S. government can see fit to use his model to incorporate into the fabric of government and government's posture towards business and innovation, if they can see fit to incorporate this man's vision, I don't see why black people can't see fit to incorporate his vision into their own personal lives in terms of their families. Me personally, I can't tell people what to do, but if you got relatives who do not want to see you advance economically, I don't even see why you even deal with them, because they ain't family to you. They're not going to help you.
Love them from afar, man.
You gotta. Sometimes you just gotta stay far away.
Yep.
Because your family is a verb. It's a way of moving and operating, and so your family should want to see the best for you. And if they don't want to see the best for you, I mean, that's pretty much your answer at that point. So I would just implore you to just use somebody, as inspiration, like Booker T. Washington, who was not perfect, and I don't even really like having to put that disclaimer down because
no one
nobody
is,
else
right?
has to be perfect.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No one is.
Nobody else has to be perfect. But his cultural legacy, his contribution to Black America cannot be diminished, cannot be understated, of what he contributed to Black America, building a school, building a chamber of commerce, network of Black businesses to come together to work, to network together, to help each other improve their business capacity, teaching Black people how to do business, the best strategies to approach, showing Black people how to conduct business in a morally upright type of way, not being crooked or anything like that, but just being just good people in terms of business, but getting things done. I just think that I would agree that what Dr. Clark said, he probably was our best leader that we've had. And we need to sometimes revisit the past, not to live in the past, but take some of those jewels that people in the past who set forth, who might have been ahead of their time, but for us, it's the right time, because what he set forth is what we need to do right now. And I'll leave it there.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. I actually, you already know, dude, like between yesterday and today, what we've been talking about on the phone is what led up to this conversation. So you pretty much covered everything I'm gonna have to say on it, right? Like this was kind of like we kind of game planned this one. So you kind of close it off. I don't really have much else to put on it. Like I really don't. I'm just like, soak this shit up. This live stream ended up becoming 2 parts. Listen to it, soak it all up. Just understand that Black men been building since day one. Fuck what you heard. I guess that's my ultimate point. And so the ones that's here today to do the same shit, okay, we bring in that same type of energy and innovation to the game. And this time around, what we're not going to do is be succumb to those of us that don't want to see ourselves succeed. Fuck that shit. We learning from the lessons of Booker T. Washington, man. That's my ultimate point. Raul dropped the 2 links here. Boom, boom, right? So this is the source material that we read from today. Okay, these 2 books right here. So there was what I read in terms of the first part of this live stream, various co-op consortium type business entities, and then there's the concept or the platform on how to leverage these to put us in a better space from a business and an industrial standpoint. These 2 books, those 2 links right there in the chat, go into detail into the thinking and the workings of the individual who ultimately created what the United States uses today as the standard for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Not only that, state level Chamber of Commerces and municipal Chamber of Commerces. Okay, all came from that brother right there, Booker T. Washington. With that being said, hit like and share this shit. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and we'll catch y'all on the next one. Deuces. We out.